Lesson 5-3 is a continuation of our study on percents, except that today we're going to look at percents as proportions. If you look at just the proportions we'd be looking at, you could solve these no problem, okay? So for instance, I gave you 3 examples on the board, and they are 30 over 100 equals 25, x over 75. Okay, now the statement, which is not on the board that would go with this, is what is, and I would write this down so you have it as an example, what is 30% of 75? Okay, that's what we're actually answering here. What is 30% of 75? Okay, so you see on the left-hand side, we've written 30% as the fractional form. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm just going to make a note here that this is actually the same thing as 30%. It's just written as a fraction. And what we're saying is if this 75 is our total, what quantity out of 75 creates 30%? Okay, so this would be the 30% of 75 up here in the top, or that's what x is going to equal. Okay, and so that's how we're breaking this down. And we're going to look at a couple of ways this is set up, okay, how proportions can answer a variety of different questions. This is just one of them. Jane, will you hit the lights, please? Or at least the ones, the light switch closest to the windows. All right, perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and solve this. To solve a proportion like this, what would you do? I mean, this is last chapter. Yeah. Okay, you could probably do this with mental math. You would take the 30% of 75 using some of the skills I've already taught you by finding 10%, multiplying by 3. Or you can do cross multiplication, and that's the route I want you to take today. Okay, we're going to try cross multiplication first. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to work this through. To cross multiply, we'd end up with 30 times 75. And that's going to equal 100x. Okay? Now, 30 times 75, what does that work out to? Yes, Chloe? 2,250. All right, so let's go ahead and write that below it. When you're working a problem like this, and you usually want to start at the top and work down, so 2,250 would be the next step in the problem, equals 100x. Now the question on the table is, how do I get x by itself? Yeah, Mary? Oh, I'm going to divide by 100. Just one side, Mary? On both sides, right. Okay, and so I end up with what? Yeah, 22.5 equals x. Notice that when you divide by something that's a multiple of 10, I'll zoom in on it here. When you divide by something that is a multiple of 10, you can just move the decimal place. So had I divided by 10, I could have moved the decimal place 1, but I divided by 100, so I was able to move the decimal 2 places. If I had divided by 1,000, how many decimal places could I have moved? Yeah, 3. Yeah. So it just happens that I had 2 decimal places I could move here. Yeah, Colby. You could have simplified 30 over 100. I didn't take that route because that was one extra step that I wasn't sure we were ready for yet. But yes, if you did that, you would have gotten the same answer. Absolutely. So it would have been 3 over 10? It would have been 3 over 10. And we cannot simplify across an equal sign. So if we had started by simplifying this problem, you could have simplified this 30 over 100 as 3 over 10. That's still 30%. We didn't take that route though, okay, because I'm trying to write everything in terms of 100. And as you'll see on the board in my 3 examples, everything is written on the left-hand side as a percent, a number over 100. Okay, any questions about this example? Any questions at all? Yeah, Mary? Yes. Right. We're just using it to apply it to a problem where we're kind of calling things percents. You're right. We solved it just like we did any proportion from the last chapter. The math is no different. It's just now we have to start thinking about it as how does this proportion relate to a problem we might actually see in the real world. So, for instance, this is like a 30% off problem. If I take 30% off, what is 30% of $75? So Mr. Bornheimer really wants a bandsaw. Okay? A bandsaw is a saw that's got a big blade that allows you to make nice small cuts, right? And Mrs. Bornheimer's got this Christmas project that she's working on, and I want to buy a bandsaw. And right now, I can't afford it. But if it was 30% off, I could write a proportion, find 30%, take it off the regular price, and find the sales price, and that would be great. And 30% off of what that's $130. 30% of that would be roughly $39. That would be great. Huh? No. I do the find 10% and multiply method in my head. So like for instance, $130. 30% is $39. I don't have a proportion notebook that I pull out for kicks and giggles. Nope. I'm the proportion genie. Stop by anytime. Thank you very much. This is my busy season though, with Christmas and whatnot. So if you want to come, it might take me a little bit longer to calculate your proportion for you in the store. Just saying. Gloria. 22.5 is 30% of 75. So I'm going to actually write that out so you can see it. 22.5 is 30% of 75. That's what we were trying to answer here. It's just laggy. It may fail on us here in a little bit. We'll see. All right, let's go to the next example here. Okay? This is going well. Let's say that we have this proportion where we have 72. Yeah, it would probably be a good idea. It's the same one from the board, which is why I had you write it in your notes to see if you solve it ahead of time. Equals 25 over y. Okay, and so a question that would kind of relate to this problem is, all right, 25 is 72% of what total? Or we might say of what larger number? Or of what number? Etc. So what we're saying here is 25 is 72% of something. Okay? We know, based on the way that the proportion is written, let me zoom in here. And I'll zoom back out in just a minute if you need to finish writing that. We know that because the 72 is in the top here, and the 25 is in the top, that those two things are proportional. The bottom is 100. It's a larger number, which means y has to be larger than 25. Okay, to keep the proportion constant. Okay, y has to be larger than 25. We could actually say y has to be larger than 25. We could write it as an inequality. Okay, we know that that is a true statement. So if you end up with an answer that is smaller than 25, did you do it right? No, you would have done it wrong. Okay, and so these are the kinds of tricks that help us to check our work mentally as we work along. All right, Grace Pennekamp came up with a great idea last time. She's like, hey, let's cross multiply. And so that's what we're going to do here. I am going to go ahead and cross multiply. I am not going to simplify first, though if you take that route, that's fine. So I'm going to have 72 times y, so 72y, equals, what is 25 times 100? Do we need to even do this on a calculator? No. It is 2,500. All right. What can I do to solve this problem right now? I've got 72y equals 2,500. Yes. We're going to divide by 72. To one side, Chloe? To both indeed. And so what we see happen is that the 72s cancel out over here. The y gets carried down. And 2,500 divided by 72 is going to be larger than 25. But what number is it actually, Mary? 34.72? We'll just say roughly 34.7. Okay, so we have the squiggly equals there. 34.7. Okay, to double check our answer, do this for me. Take 25 and actually divide it by 34.7. Go ahead and do that for me. What do you get as a decimal? 0. You should get 0.72. Roughly 72, which is 72%. Okay? So this is how you double check your answer. You would write this answer as 25 is 72% of 34.7. And that would be a true statement. Okay, so we can use proportions in different ways like that. The third example we had on the board, by the way, is the exact same type of problem. I am going to do one more that you may see in your homework, okay? And that is, it looks like this. We have an unknown percent, okay? I'm going to call this percent fishy face, all right, or fishy. Or ichthus is actually the Greek name for the symbol. So it's ichthus. What a great little symbol. And ichthus is some unknown percent. So we're going to write it over 100. Percents are always written over 100. Okay. Now, I want to know what percent is 17 out of 41. Now, you could do this a couple different ways, but we are still going to work through this like cross multiplication. Okay, so I am going to cross multiply here. I'm going to take and I'm going to multiply this through, and I see 41 fishy, or 41 ichthus, or whatever, and that's going to equal what? What is that going to equal? Yeah, Drake. 17 times 100, which is 1,700. Very good. Hold up. Wait a minute. Yes, you have a question?
No, everything came back to me.
Okay.
I saw the answer and I was like, oh.
Okay. What am I going to do to both sides? Divide by 41. And I end up with fishy, or ichthus, equals what?
41.46.
Is it? What, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that was totally ironic. All right. 41 point, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Roughly 41.5.
I know, that's what I was like.
Now, that was not intentional, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know. Actually, that's almost a square root right there for 1,700. Huh. Almost. Two numbers times each other would give you.
So it's almost 50%.
It's a square root of.
I remember. Mr. B.
So it's 41, or 17 is 41.5% of 41. Is how we would say that. 17 is 41.5% of 41. You guys do this all the time when you take two numbers, divide them, and multiply by 100. Or you take two numbers, divide them, and you convert it in your head to a percent. Hold on. Okay, I'll do that. Yep, thank you.
Fix the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
What they want.
The lunch order. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is what you're doing for proportions. You're setting up proportions. I want you to try one of these for me right now. I'm going to give you a written statement. I want you to write a proportion for it. Okay? So, here we go. What is 65% of 83? Write a proportion first. And then 2, solve the proportion. Okay, so what did you guys come up with as a proportion? Okay, what did you come up with as a proportion? Remember, you need to write the percent always as a fraction out of what? 100. That's the very first thing you do. Okay, you always write it as a fraction out of 100, so I'm going to start with that, and then I'll go to what you came up with. 65 over 100 equals. Okay, proportions are always a fraction equals a fraction. Mary, which number are we going to fill in given the information? Are we going to fill in the top number or the bottom number, the numerator or the denominator? The denominator. Okay, what is 85% of a total of 83? So 83 goes down here, and we don't know what the top is. What can we put in the place of the top? Yeah. We could put X in there, sure, or we could put stick figure man. Okay. It can be anything. You could put a question mark. You could put X, you could put Y, you could put D, you could put A, you could put B, you could put B, because B is the best letter ever. No. E is like a subclass letter, okay? All right, we could put a smiley face. So if we put in a smiley face, hang on.
You know you never put a P for Parker.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I'm gonna do that.
Hey, he's smiling. It's just a very slight curve. Okay, so let's go ahead and multiply these. Okay, 65 times 83 equals smiley person man, okay, times 100. All right, what is 65 times 83? Yeah, Connor? 5,395. Did I say that right? All right, and that's going to equal stick figure man times 100. What do I do to both sides to get stick figure man by himself? Gloria? Divide it by 100. That is right. And that's just moving the decimal 2 places. So we have 5,395. I moved the decimal 2 places, not 3. And it's 53.95, or roughly 54.
Man, that's how much Parker weighs. He probably does.
So what is 65 of 80, or what is 65% of 83? Approximately 54. Okay? That's what we're, so you always start by writing your percent as a fraction over 100. You can always set it up. When you're given a problem like this, when you're working with percents, you can always, I still do this, you can always set it up, fraction equals fraction. Fill in what you know. One of the fractions will always be a percent. It will always have 100 in the denominator. So you can fill in pieces for these problems right from the get-go. Almost every problem in your homework will have this format. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Your homework, ladies and gentlemen. We'll go ahead and stop this recording.